If you're using frozen chips, always cook them straight from frozen. If you let them thaw, you'll find it harder to get your timings right and you'll end up with inconsistent quality. Thanks, Emma. So, take your basket out of the oil and always fill with chips taken straight from the freezer. Now, whatever chips you're using, it's really important that you fill the basket to halfway and no higher. Let the oil circulate around the chips for nice, even cooking and no raw or overcooked chips. And then, set your timer and gently lower the chips into the oil. If you're using chilled chips, the timings are going to be different from frozen. But the secret to perfect chips every time is be consistent. If you over-fry chips past their recommended cooking time, you may find they absorb more oil and therefore more fat. Give the basket a shake at regular intervals to ensure the chips stay separate from one another. Make sure that they're nice and evenly cooked all over. Keep the basket in the oil to keep the chips frying all the time. It's always a good idea to turn the fryer down when you're not using it. This helps the oil last longer, but if you do this, always make sure that it's back up to the right temperature before you fry another batch. And of course, always fry to order. This is the only way you can guarantee lovely, hot, perfectly cooked chips. If you double fry, known as blanching, you're going to end up with burnt tasting, empty, crispy chips with excessive oiliness. Plus, they're not going to hold as long. Worst of all, you're going to end up doing everything twice. Now, you may be blanching because you think it saves you time, but I've got to tell you, it's a false economy. Cooking small amounts regularly makes the most efficient use of your time. Well, they're cooking nicely, so let's use our time efficiently to prep the rest of our order. When the frying time is up, gently shake the chips and drain them over the fryer for a maximum of 10 seconds. Just long enough to get rid of the excess oil that can leave you with something a little bit limp and soggy. And then transfer them to the scuttle. What you're after is a chip that's crispy and golden on the outside, but light and fluffy on the inside. If you need to, put them under the heat lamps, but only for a maximum of 5 minutes. Keep them hanging around too long and they'll end up cold and soggy, and that's really going to eat into your profitability. Just to prove it, we held chips for 10 minutes in the scuttle and then compared them to pristine, freshly fried chips. On average, we got 17% less portions per case on the ones we held compared to the freshly fried ones. You see, the longer you hold chips, the soggier they become. And because they're not crisp, they don't stack up as high on the plate. So your yield will be lower because you need more chips to get the right plate coverage. And then you've got your hidden costs. If your chips are inconsistent, you'll get complaints, which can really cost you in the long run. Every bad portion of chips undermines your reputation. If you're lucky, your customers will complain and you can do something about it. Otherwise, they just won't come back. Serve them or discard them. Bad chips really eat into profits. The best way you can avoid this is, again, always cook to order and only ever cook what you need. Right, time to serve these up. Always use a scoop for perfect portion control. You know, Mccain here from caterers that often portions are 50% bigger than standard, which again can affect your profits. So check you're serving your company's standard portion size at team meetings. Consistency means value for money and happy diners who keep coming back. What do we mean when we talk about glorious chips? Well, Mccain looked for 3 key things: length, appearance and consistency. Let's take length first of all. Mccain specify the longest potatoes for their chips. Why? Well, it's simple. It benefits you, the caterer, because the longer the chip, the fewer you need for a really good looking portion. It's down to the way they're piled on the plate. Now look at these two portions. Now they might look identical, but there really is a big difference. The portion on the right uses less chips. Use fewer chips per portion and you get more portions per case, more profit for you. It's like the old saying, you only get out what you put in. Buy cheaper chips and you'll end up with fewer portions. Invest in quality, however, and you'll get more servings, better value for money, and a lot more profit in the long run. Yes, size does matter, but so does the way the chips look, and that brings me to appearance. Now these chips have a few unattractive black bits and broken pieces, but these Mccain chips look fantastic, and given that we all eat with our eyes, Mccain chips win hands down. And finally, consistency. Everyone likes to be able to rely on the quality of what they're buying. We all like to know we're getting what we pay for. So when customers order your chips, they know they're getting their money's worth. Okay, so let's review the main points. Always check that the chips haven't defrosted if they're supposed to be frozen. Store your chips at -18 degrees C. Use clean shelving or pallets off the ground and away from the walls. And never stack more than 5 boxes high. Transfer to the kitchen 1 case at a time. And pour straight from the bag into the frying basket when you get an order. Keep your oil at the temperature recommended by the manufacturers. No more, no less. And keep the oil clean, topped up and free from scraps and debris. Shake the chips while they fry to make sure they cook evenly all over. Shake off any excess oil and don't leave them to hold over the fryer. Put them under heat lamps, but for no more than 5 minutes. And always, always cook to order. And finally, serve with a scoop to make sure that everyone gets their fair share of glorious, perfectly cooked chips. So there you have it. Perfect chips every time. Easy, really.